Hi, everyone. Welcome to our info session on European Research Council grants. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend today. My name is Derya Büyüktanır Karacan, Regional Coordinator of EURAXESS North America, alongside my colleague Jackson Howard. I'm also a professional lecturer and researcher at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Today's webinar aims to provide updated information on ERC grants. As you know, ERC supports investigator-driven frontier research across all fields. It awards research grants to scientists and scholars from all over the world, both early career and senior researchers carrying out their ambitious research projects in all scientific disciplines in Europe. As you may know, EURAXESS is a European initiative supported by the European Commission, EU member states, and associated countries. It provides free services, portals, and tools to help researchers outside of Europe connect with professionals and explore research and innovation opportunities within Europe. Jackson and I represent EURAXESS North America, which is the international arm of EURAXESS, and we have 8 other hubs in different regions of the world. We offer networking opportunities and information to researchers who want to pursue their careers in Europe. My colleague Jackson will provide more details on EURAXESS just before our main speaker. So today we have Dr. Yana Sifta with us. She is the scientific officer of ERC Executive Agency. Thank you, Yana, for joining us today. She will answer your questions at the end of her presentation. And before we proceed, I just want to provide some information on housekeeping. And we are going to record this webinar, and it will be available on our EURAXESS North America website and YouTube channel. Screenshots may be also taken for future, our social media platforms and websites. So, and this is very important, please submit your questions via the Q&A box rather than the chat box. Our speaker, Yana, will address these questions after her presentation, and Jackson will moderate the session. And we also encourage you to visit the EURAXESS North America websites and follow our social media channels, where we will provide relevant links throughout the event. So now I would like to invite my colleague Jackson Howard to give a brief presentation on EURAXESS. Thank you, Jackson.
Thank you very much, Derya, and thank you also to our great speaker who will follow me in a few minutes for the nice opportunity to have researchers all over the world, and then a large majority of our attendees today are in North America to learn about ERC grants. So I'll invite my colleagues, if they'd like. You can turn your cameras off, and I'll just very briefly give a refresher on EURAXESS services. I'll aim for under 5 minutes, and this should just, for those of you that joined maybe because the ERC promoted this event as opposed to those who are already our members and already know about us, I'll just very quickly give you an overview as to what we do as EURAXESS. I think Derya gave a great introduction here. So we as EURAXESS, as Derya mentioned, there is a presence of over 600 service centers throughout Europe, providing field-specific expertise for you as a researcher in your specific research area, and then of course country-specific expertise. On the EURAXESS worldwide side, we provide information. You could argue at your primary points of contact for all things European research and innovation outside of Europe. So Derya and I are both in the Washington, D.C. area, covering all of the U.S. and Canada. We represent, the EURAXESS project as a whole represents 45 countries in Europe. I'll actually give you a quick list that goes over this. All of our services are free, and our job is to support your researcher, your career development as a researcher. Whether you want to go to Europe, move within Europe, if you're in Europe and you would like to come to the US or Canada or any country of your choice on certain fellowships, those exist as well. So one way or another, we're here to help you, and there's no charge for any of our services. Our EURAXESS website, it's the exact same interface for all the different hubs and your European national portals. There's a jobs, funding, and hosting section. As of last week, for the first time in several years, the EURAXESS website got a visual overhaul. So now there's no separate URLs for the jobs, funding, and hosting. All of these have been unified. So you can use the filters on the EURAXESS website to, for example, check on that you're looking for jobs, which are both in and out of academia, and then in Europe and then other countries in the world as well. Or that you're looking specifically for funding opportunities or hosting opportunities to go to Europe on EU-funded projects. We have a lot of career development tools, information and assistance. Like I mentioned, there's over 600 service centers, and then you have the 9 hubs around the world outside of Europe that provide information for you as well. Now, I mentioned before 45 countries. When I say Europe, I'm referring to the continent in its entirety for the most part, including the wider neighborhood. So you have countries here like Tunisia, North Macedonia, Turkey, that are not EU member states, but that pay into the program for research and innovation of the EU, and then are in simple terms treated on a level playing field as if they were EU member states when it comes to research and innovation. So these 45 countries you see here you can basically have all of these unlocked to you as the countries you can go to on EU funded projects. So when we're talking about ERC grants, any of these countries are open to you. So regardless of if you are European or not, based in North America, Europe, or another continent, when you will hear soon about which countries you can go to on ERC grants, it'll be any of the countries on this list. Now, if you're curious about certain countries, you don't know what it's like to live or work there, each EURAXESS national portal or the website of EURAXESS in that European country more or less divides into these 18 different categories, some expert information. So I would say you can go to the EURAXESS national portal of country or countries you're potentially interested in, and then go through and help learn about these information. Today's webinar is on ERC grants. Last week, we hosted a webinar on the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, or MSCA. These are fellowships to go to Europe, move within Europe, or go from Europe to any country of your choice. That recording is available. I'll share a link in the chat momentarily. And then on June 26th, if you are a researcher advanced in your career stage and you're interested in potentially being a principal investigator on international collaborative projects on part of an international consortium, I also invite you to join that webinar on Pillar 2 of Horizon Europe. So basically, these are top-down calls. So unlike the bottom-up nature of Pillar 1, and you'll hear a lot more about this from our ERC speaker, these are topics that are already defined by the EU itself, and international consortia apply for the right to carry out research and receive EU funding on these topics. There's a lot of information. These are very generous grants for global challenges. If you are from Canada, I'm very happy to say that Canada is in the process of becoming an associated country, so you would be eligible for funding. If you are a US-based principal investigator interested in Pillar 2, I should clarify that only the health cluster has EU funding. However, you can join any cluster and bring in external funding. Over 7 years, there's over 100 billion US dollars for reference in this. It's 95.5 billion euro. So like I said, in Pillars 1 and 2, there's the majority of the funding. And I really would encourage you, whether you want to go to Europe on a Pillar 1 grant or remain at your institution and join a Pillar 2 collaborative consortium, there's a lot of opportunities for you. So I'll leave you here. If you opted into our email list, we'll manually add you right after this webinar ends. You can also scan that QR code, and you can just search EURAXESS North America on any of the different social media channels and follow us there. This email address you see here goes to both Daria and me. So if you reach us at North America at EURAXESS.net, she or I will get back to you within a few days at the latest. So thank you so much. And Daria, I leave it to you to invite our speaker to join.
Thank you, Jackson, for the great presentation as always. And now I would like to invite Dr. Yana Sifta for her presentation. But before that, Yana, I would like to read your bios because you have a great experience on the ERC grants. So I think it would be good to hear all your experience on this area. So Dr. Yana Sifta is a scientific officer and project advisor in the European Research Council Executive Agency in the Social Sciences and Humanities Unit. This is also very important because many questions are coming. Do you really support social sciences and humanities? Because most of the time the researchers think that it's all engineering and life sciences. So I think it would be great to hear also this part specifically because I'm also a social scientist. So, and she works for the whole cycle of grant application for ERC individual grants and is responsible for the consolidator grant call for one panel, human mobility, environment, and space. She also monitors the scientific implementation of funded grants within her expertise. She is involved in the ERC widening participation campaign, which aims at closing the gap between the widening participation countries and the rest of the EU. This is also another very important topic I think you want to mention. Yeah, and Yana Sifta received her PhD in social geography from Charles University in Prague. Before joining the ERC, she worked as an associate professor at human geography at Charles University. Her research interests include geography of consumption, alternative food networks, and urban agriculture. As a senior researcher at the National Institute of Mental Health, she studied quality of life and lifestyle with a focus on the study of addictions. Perfect. Thank you so much. And the floor is yours, Yana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daria. Thank you for the introduction. And I will start by sharing the screen. I hope it works. So now you should be able to see it. Is it okay?
Yes, I see it very clearly. Thank you.
Perfect. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. And it's really a great pleasure to present ERC to you. And I hope that I will convince you that we are the best and you should really apply for one of our grants. And before I start, I would like to show the outline of the presentation. So I would like to start very shortly about the context of ERC and Horizon Europe, which is the framework program that is running now. Then I would like to introduce the ERC basics. Really, why is it really the best to apply for an ERC grant? And then the ERC schemes that are available for you as researchers and where you can apply. I would also introduce our evaluation process because I'm sure that many of you know that it's a two-step evaluation process, so I will go into the detail. Then I will offer some information about ERC and North American researchers because we already have some possibilities for North American researchers. And then I will spend the rest of the presentation on tips and tricks for proposal preparation because I guess that this could be really interesting for you. And then, of course, I'm open to any questions and I will try to answer any question you might have. So if you let me continue, I would like to start with this quote because for me it's really ERC in a nutshell. So the quote says that ERC awards long-term grants to researchers of any nationality and age from anywhere in the world who wish to carry out their research projects in host institution based in Europe. And scientific excellence is the only evaluation criterion. And this is really the definition of ERC because in ERC we are really dedicated to selecting and funding the excellent ideas, which are always bottom up. They are also individual based, so it's not the consortia about which Jackson was speaking. And also it's pan-European. So you saw the map of the countries that are members of European Union, but also many associated countries. So that's really very important that it's open to a much bigger scientific society than only you. And as I said, ERC is part of Horizon Europe. Horizon Europe is a framework program for research, innovation, and it's really a very big program because you see that it's the budget is 16 billion euros, and the ERC stands for 17% of this budget. And so it's really a big chunk. And I would also like to show that the budget for the science and for our framework programs for ERC is still increasing. So you see that there have been like periods where it was not increasing that much, but there is like a clear trend that for support of science, for support of excellent ideas, And I really hope, and the indications are so far so good, that we will continue in the same way, and it will be increasing. The research budget will be bigger also in the next years and next framework programs. Then about the ERC. ERC is a specific funding body because we have an independent scientific council with 22 members, including the ERC president. And this scientific council has a full authority over the strategy about evaluation processes, about funding about the calls, about funding the research. And I will show you the members in a while. And it's really comprised like of the top researchers in different areas who are like governing the strategy of the science funding in ERC. It's also supported by a dedicated agency, ERC. This is the agency that I'm working for. And this really takes care of all the evaluation process, of all the implementation of the grant agreements, of the project follow-up, of the monitoring, and all the communication with the stakeholders, but also with the public, etc. So, as I said, the scientific freedom for us is absolutely and of crucial importance, and really excellent in the sole criterion. There are no consortia, so these grants are really given to an individual scientist, to an individual PI, as we say, principal investigator. And there are no subjects which are predetermined like for the consortium. So you can really come with any idea you have from any area of science, and you can work on this idea and apply for this. It can be completely theoretical. It can be completely blue sky research. It's really up to you. And also, I would say that we are doing really a very good job when it comes to support of frontier research in all fields of science and humanities, and also, this is what I wanted to stress, also social science and humanities. So it's not really only life science and physical science and engineering, but also social science and humanities is also very important for us to stress. And what is also very good that it's the panels are really international. So there are people from around the world, not only from the European Union. So we are really trying to gather the best experts that are available for the evaluation in the respective area of science. And this is just in short the scientific council that I was presenting. So you see that there are really people across the disciplines, life sciences, physical sciences, engineering, and social sciences and humanities. And the ERC president is Maria Leptin. She's a biologist, very famous biologist. So that's the leader of this scientific council. And just very quickly about the success of ERC so far, you can see that some of these numbers are really amazing. We have over 13,000 top researchers funded since we started in 2007. And the team of ERC researchers cover over 19,000 researchers and other professionals. We have more than 2,400 patents and applications which were generated by our grants, and over 400 startups that were founded by our grantees. We have also a very impressive number of papers that were published in scientific journals of the highest quality. And our grants are hosted by more than 900 research institutions. We have about 90 nationalities of our grant holders, and last but not least, of course, 40 Nobel Prizes, 6 field medals, 11 World Prizes, and then other prizes. That's right. So that's really covering how I would say successful this scheme really is. And now let's go to the ERC basics. And the question is why to apply for the ERC grant. Well, I would say that for any researcher, or for me, the most important would be that you can really work on a research topic of your own choice. So it means that there is really no prescription, there are no boundaries, and really anything that you are interested in. And of course, to organize the evaluation better, we have this structure of evaluation panels. But I have to say, and I have to stress that these panels have to be really interpreted in a very flexible and very inclusive manner, because there is always an adequate space for cross-panel and interdisciplinary proposals. So please, like when you look at this structure and you're trying to place yourself in one of these panels, of course, sometimes it can be difficult. Sometimes you feel that your research is on the boundaries, or research is on the edge of two disciplines. So I just wanted to say that this is not a prescription. Again, this is just for our organization, but for cross-panel proposals or for interdisciplinary proposals, you can also always find a main panel and then a secondary panel if you feel that your proposal really needs some cross-panel and interdisciplinary approach. So that's really not a problem. And another reason is that you can also attract excellent team members and collaborators from anywhere in the world. So this is really very important, because when you get your ERC grant, of course you have time to invite and time to interview the best PhD students, the best postdocs, the best collaborators you can imagine, because ERC is really to a large extent a seal of quality, and you can be sure that this will attract a lot of quality researchers and quality collaborators. So then, and they can be really based all around the world, depending on what your project requires. Just as an evidence, you can see that we have 48 non-EU or associated country nationalities among our grantees, and altogether it comprises already 8% of all ERC grants. USA and Canadian, Americans and Canadians are the most numerous grantees in starting consolidator, but also in advanced grants. And when it comes to attracting researchers to Europe, you can see that USA makes 12%, Canada 3%, but there are also many other countries, and there are really in the Horizon 2020 grant, there were team members from all of these countries. And the third reason, of course, last but not the least, is that you will gain a financial autonomy for the next 5 years. What is also, I think, very good is that you can really negotiate the best conditions for you and your team with the host institution. And again, when you are granted an ERC grant, it means that every host institution will be really interested in having you with them, having you working for them. So that's a quality label. So you can really enjoy this opportunity, and you can discuss with the host institution the best condition. And if the host institution doesn't agree, or they are not able to fulfill your condition, you can always move with your grant to any place in Europe if you need. So there is this portability of grants. You can the grant is yours. It's related to you personally, and you can take it whenever you want within Europe. So that's also, and that happens quite often. So it's not a complicated process. It's really up to you and your needs for your research and your research needs. And what is also important for you as participants from North America and Canada, you can also win additional funding, because in this case, there is another 1 million euros, irrespective of your grant scheme, that can be added to your grant when you are moving to Europe from another country, when you are establishing a new research team, establishing a new research topic in Europe and coming from outside of Europe. So that's also quite interesting, I would say. And what are the grant schemes that I'm talking about? So we have three, I would say, the main ones: starting grants, consolidated grants, and advanced grants. The difference between them is in your academic age and also in the amount of money. They are all for 5 years, and starting grant is for researchers who are 2 to 7 years after their PhD, and it is 1.5 million euros. Consolidated grants is for researchers that are 7 to 12 years after their PhD, and it is 2 million euros. And it means that you are already not a starting researcher, you are trying to consolidate your own research group, your own lab or something like that. So that's like the next step. And then we have advanced grant, and this is there is absolutely no limitation by your academic age, but yeah, somehow in between the lines you can see that these grants are for people who are already like very respected scientists, and are really heading to the top of their careers. So these are 2.5 million euros for 5 years. Then we have a special grant scheme which is called Synergy Grants, and it's interesting because this one is for 2 to 4 principal investigators. The amount of money is 10 million here, plus it can be added the additional million, and it's for 6 years this time. And it's also good that one of these principal investigators can be based outside the European countries or associated countries and European Union. And the main difference here is that you have to prove that this kind of research simply cannot be carried out by a single PI working alone. So you have to, that's why it's called synergy. You have to prove that you really have to cooperate with somebody else and with another researcher somewhere else. But yeah, it's very I would say interesting scheme, and it's gaining in importance, and it's gaining in the number of applications issued. And then we have a proof of concept, which is a scheme which is a little bit special, because this one is for people, for researchers that already have an ERC grant, and it's a lump sum of 150,000 euros, and it's aimed to bridge the gap between your patent or your idea and the marketable innovation. So it's basically for putting your ideas to the market. It should help you to sell, to use your invention. So that's the proof of concept. And then then I will move to the evaluation process. So the evaluation process is a two-step. There's a single submission, but a two-step evaluation. And in the first step, there are panel members or the cross-panel reviewers who are evaluating only the first section of your proposal. It's called extended synopsis or part B1, and it's the synopsis of your proposal in 5 pages and your CV. The panelists are meeting here in Brussels in person and they are discussing your proposals. So in the end of this panel meeting week, you have proposals that are either rejected, that means that they scored B or C, and then there are proposals which are retained for the step 2, and this means the score A. The scoring or the difference is that for the proposals with A, they go directly to the step 2, and then for the proposals with B and C, there are some submission restrictions. For the proposal that was evaluated by B, it means that you can resubmit not the next year, but in 2 years. And for the proposal which was evaluated by C, you can resubmit in 3 years. So it means that the proposal was evaluated and it was just obvious that it needs more time for revisions. But for B and C in step 1, the PI will always receive the feedback. They will receive the evaluation. They will receive the panel comments and all the reviews. So this is step 1, and in step 2, it's a little bit different because the panel members now they will evaluate the full scientific proposal. It means the part B1, the short one, the synopsis, and part B2, the full proposal, the full 15 pages of proposals. Of course, they have your CV also available, they have the budget available, and all the documentation. And also in the step 2, additionally, each of these proposals is evaluated by at least 2 remote reviewers. These remote reviewers should be the experts in the niche area of your research, and they are recommended by the panel members, especially for the step 2 evaluation. In the step 2 evaluation, the panel meeting again takes place here in Brussels in person, and you as the applicant, as the successful applicant, because you got into the step 2, will be invited for an interview, but this interview is online. So it means that the panel is here in Brussels and you will be on the screen presenting your project and replying to questions of the panel. And at the end of this panel meeting week, you will be either evaluated A, which is the best thing that can happen, and you will become an ERC grantee, or your proposal will be evaluated as B, which means that you will not get your grant this year, but you can reapply already the next year. Yeah. And you will receive the feedback, both B's and A's will receive the feedback after the step 2. So again, you can look at the panel comments, you can look at the individual evaluation reports, and you can use it for the revision of your proposal. You can think about it and submit quickly. So that's in short our evaluation process. And next, as I said, the excellence is really the only evaluation criteria. You should not be afraid of other criteria, no impact factors, no H indexes, nothing like that. It's really about the groundbreaking nature of your idea, of your proposal, about the ambition also of your proposal. I will talk about this a little bit later. And of course, about the feasibility of the research project. You have to think big, but not that big. Yeah, it has to be really feasible within 5 years. And when it comes to the CV and the personage of the principal investigator, of course, you have to have intellectual capacity and creativity to take care of your proposal, to take care of your project, and enough commitment. But we will get to this again later. And the last thing is what I wanted to say is that, of course, sometimes you may hear some rumors about ERC, but contrary to what you may think or hear, I would like to clarify some issues. So first, the budget is distributed among the scientific panels as a function of demand. So it's not, there are no priorities for the PE panels or life science panel. How many applications come in the given call year that piece of the budget will be given to the panel, to the discipline. So it's really distributed as a function of demand. I also wanted to remind you that the panel descriptors that I showed you are not scientific priorities. These are just names of the panels that should help you where to apply. But it doesn't mean that if you don't find your niche area in this list, that it's not a priority. You just have to find the closest panel to your area of interest, and then it's not a priority. Then your proposal will be taken care of, and you can also ask for personal review. The success rate is not linked to academic age, of course. It doesn't mean that the advanced grant have better chances than the young researchers. No, on the contrary. I would say that we really support the young researchers as possible. And what is extremely important for me to stress is that the publication record is not sensitive in the selection, because ERC signed the DORA principles, the DORA declaration. So we really try to downplay any quantitative measures such as number of publications, impact factors, age indexes, etc. We really try to do our best, and we are implementing changes every year that should help to make this possible. So, for example, now in the CV, you have really enough space to, it's not completely a narrative CV, but there is really enough space where you can explain the importance of your publications. It doesn't have to be a list of publications, endless list of publications, but you can really select only the best publications and explain why these are strategic or why these are important. And if you don't feel strong enough in publications or your publication record, you can always stress another fields of your academic excellence. If you work for a community service, if you are an excellent teacher, if you started a lab, or if you started a new master program or something like that. So there is always space to stress these things in your CV. And last but not least, the host institution is not an evaluation criterion. So it doesn't mean that if you come from a small university, that it would be a problem. And having said this, of course, that there are institutions and countries which are more successful than others, but yeah, this is, I think, the case in any funding body or any granting agency. So this picture is just to show who are the countries with the highest success rate. But of course, the situation is changing, and we are working quite hard, especially on the inclusion of the widening countries and helping the PIs in these areas that are not performing that well to become much more successful when applying for ERC grant. Next picture is very similar. I just wanted to show you where are most of the project based, depending on the type of the granting scheme. And so it's not surprising, these are the countries which have the most of our grants. But you can see that there are already some widening countries, in Central European countries, Eastern European countries that are getting the grants in the recent years and improving the situation. So that's a little bit about the numbers. And now when it comes to North America, I would like to say that, again, there is this 1 million of extra funding, irrespective of the grant scheme, that you can have when you're moving to Europe. But what is also important for you based in North America is that the requirement of an ERC grant is to spend significant part of your work time in Europe. So this means at least 50% of your work time in Europe. But of course, it depends how you organize your work time. And for me, it means that you can also keep your affiliation with your home institution or with your institution outside Europe, and then you can work in a European institution on your ERC grant. So that's I would say very fair offer. And as I said already, your team members can be based outside Europe. It depends on what the project needs, but that for them this is not like the condition. So that's like a benefit for you. And also you see that you will not be the first. We receive quite a high number of projects, proposals from US and from Canada already. From US, of course, it's more projects. And we already have some American and Canadian grantees. So it's already more than 400 for USA and 130 for Canada. And if you remember, I was talking about this synergy grant, the special scheme where you can have 2 to 4 PIs working together and 10 million euros. And I would say really, especially this scheme is a bit more open to the world because if you're not the main coordinator, you can be also, you can stay based in the United States or Canada. And again, you will not be the first. We already have these cases. So you see that we have 23 synergy grantees in US and 2 in Canada. And just for your information, if you want to see the synergy grantees in US, these are the universities where they are based. And when it comes to Canada, it's the University of British Columbia for our entropy project, Entropy, and the Sherbrooke for the biorobotics project. So this is already what is being done. And there is also an initiative called Implementing Arrangement, which is an initiative promoting opportunity for researchers to visit and collaborate with ERC grantees, ERC teams. And this is partially supported by non-European agencies. For you in the US, it's the NSF Career Awards or NSF Postdoctoral Research Fellowships. And if you apply for these, it means that you can spend single and long term from 6 to 12 months or multiple short term visits in a team of an ERC grantee in Europe and watch them work, learn from them, try to plan the future collaborations, try to learn how to write the proposal, how to do the grantmanship work, etc. So again, you see that there is already about 140 US researchers who used this opportunity between 2012, where the initiative was signed, and 2022. I'm sorry, I don't have more recent numbers, and then 7 in Canada. And now I will come to the last part of my presentation. I hope I have enough time. So about preparing your proposal. And again, I would like to repeat that our proposals are the most important to apply for ERC is to have a bright idea, an exciting idea. But of course, each panel will interpret this as it makes sense for the field. So of course, excellence is viewed differently in different fields, but you don't have to be afraid because you know your field. What you have to be really careful for is when you prepare your proposal, register early, get familiar with our system, with the templates you have to fill in, with the forms, how they look, what you will need, etc. You can revise the submitted proposal as many times as you want until the call deadline. So the new version always rewrites the previous one. And please follow the formatting rules and the page limit, because if you write more, the system will not stop you. You can write more, but the panelists will not read it. So they are instructed to read 5 pages of the extended synopsis, 15 pages of the of the full proposal, and if it's more, it's really not helping you. So try to read before submitting, proofread before submitting, and also before you start writing, we have quite interesting and very helpful, I would say, videos on YouTube. We have some information on the web page, and yeah, so try to use this material before you start writing, or you can also talk to your national contact points or your printing offices, etc. Then the third and most important thing is make sure that you are eligible, make sure that you are not making a mistake and you are not applying for a wrong scheme, because you saw that there are these eligibility windows for starting and for consolidated grant, but there can also be some extensions granted. It's 18 months of maternity per one child, before or after PhD, doesn't matter. The actual time taken off for paternity leave, but also for long-term illness, military service, caring for seriously ill family members up to 90 days, special medical training. This is for the life sciences and doctors especially. And there is no limit to the total extension. You only have to see the program for the work program for the details, and include all the documents that are proving that you were on maternity leave or you were opening the military service, etc. Fourth important point is the host institution. As I already said, you can change the host institution during the project slide. This is not a problem, but before you apply, you have to have an approval of the host institution. The host institution where you will apply, they have to agree with your proposal and send a host institution letter, which is part of the application. And you can negotiate your position, the equipment, administrative support, access to infrastructure. Like, you can really ask and negotiate on all this. If it is necessary, you can also have other institutions that can participate as secondary beneficiaries. That's not a problem. And next point is the choosing of the panel. I already spoke about the panel, so don't be afraid if you cannot locate yourself immediately in this table, because you can always go for one panel, which is like the main panel, and then you can flag one secondary review panel. So if your proposal is, for example, somewhere in between geography and law, you can ask for SH7 as a primary panel and SH2 as a secondary panel, and you will be given the reviewers from both of these areas if your proposal covers or it's an interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. So that's not a problem. But don't forget that you are the one responsible for the selection of the panel. So each panel covers given breadth of the research area, and also in very exceptional cases, it can happen that your proposal will be moved to another panel. This happens in case that there is an obvious mistake that you applied to a wrong panel because you were, I don't know, misunderstanding, misreading, etc. Or the panel chairs of the panel can decide about the so-called transfer when it's really obvious that there is not this necessary expertise in the panel you applied for. So it's all done for your profit, for the better good. And as I said, in these cases, really cross-domain or cross-panel proposals are possible. Cross-domain means that you can also ask for a main panel in social science and humanities, and then, for example, another one in life sciences. We have many proposals like this, and it's really not a problem. So that's about choosing the panel. And as I said, you can indicate a secondary panel if you really feel that you are in the interface between the panels, and you can explain shortly in your proposal why you think the second panel is really needed and relevant. This will help us and it will flag your proposal for this need of cross-panel reviews, and we will search for the experts in the area that is really needed to look at your proposal and to review it in fair way. And you can also choose descriptors. So the first descriptor should be in the submission panel, but then the other descriptors can be from different panels. You can also add keywords to your proposal, and this will help us to find the right panel and find the right evaluators for your proposal. So don't over describe your panel with this your proposal with descriptors, because it doesn't mean that the more cross-panel descriptions you will indicate, the higher chance for funding you will have, because it's not true, and it's only fair for us to allocate the proposal to the right panel members and for the right review. And they don't see the keywords and descriptors when they read your proposal. And then there is this question if you should start working part B1 or part B2. So I would say you should write them together because they are interrelated. But don't forget that in part B1 you have to spark curiosity, spark excitement, and the people have to feel that they really want to see the second part. And in the second part, you have enough time to impress with details, with your plans, with the description of your team, etc. So very, very short, because I feel like I'm running out of time. When you're preparing the research proposal and the part B1, please don't forget that the panel members are generally in this, so they are experts in the discipline, but not maybe in the niche of your proposal. So you have to write in a you have to be specific, be focused, but yeah, you have to be it has to be clear enough also for people who are not like the specialists in this area. Think about how your project is innovative, if it brings new solutions, new theories, and also do your homework and look at the state of play in the area and try to find the differences between your work and the work of the others. And again, don't be afraid to write about the mitigation measures, because it's absolutely normal that something can go wrong. It doesn't always have to go according to your plan. But be prepared to show that you have a plan B in case something goes wrong, in case something you cannot make one case study, then you have a solution for another case study or another case study country, etc. So think about some mitigation measures. And I also wanted to say that societal impact is not an evaluation criterion, which doesn't mean that ERC funded projects don't have impact, but it's not like necessary, it's not needed. So that's what I said. You can also come with a completely theoretical proposal and you'll be okay with it. For the CV part, just think about how to present yourself as the best person who can carry out this kind of research, which means that you have to know your competitors, and also show that you have some experience of the scientific leadership, that you are able to manage a 5-year project with a substantial budget if this is the case. And don't be afraid about lack of publications in Nature, Science, and other high impact journals. This is really not important. Try to sell yourself with your strongest point and show your independent, creative thinking. But please don't oversell and don't make some false statements, because it is very quickly revealed. And quickly for the part B2, again, in step 2, it will be the B1 and B2, which are read by the panel members and experts from around the world. So don't repeat the synopsis. Provide sufficient details on your methodology, on your work plan. Make make sure that you know where are the differences between your proposal and the work which is being already done or conducted in the work. And again, explain the mitigation strategies, and in part B, explain in detail the involvement of other team members, who will do what, who will be responsible for which work package, etc. And of course, explain your budget in this part. And last but not least, I would like to say, if rejected, keep trying, because it's absolutely normal. The success rate is about 12%. So it happens that you're rejected, but you will get the feedback. So please use the feedback from the evaluation reports to make your proposal better next year or in the next 2 years. And also the reapplications have a much higher success rate. So don't be discouraged by a rejection in your first year of trying to apply for ERC. That's not that important. Before I forget, this is the ERC class. These are the videos that I said that you can watch on YouTube. What to consider before applying, how to fill the application, how to behave during the interview, or how to prepare for the interview, etc. So please just go to the YouTube and watch them. And also there is a dashboard on our website where you can go and where you can filter by funding scheme, filter by core year, by domain, by panel granted country or host institution, and you can check a little bit. You can get the picture of what is being already done under the heading of ERC, under the funding of ERC. You can check not to repeat, for example, something which is already being done, who is doing something, and where are people doing their research, etc. So just for your information. And then last but not least, this is the tentative, or this is the call calendar for the next year. So you can see that the advanced grants 2024 have been recently opened, and the deadline is in the end of August. And for starting, you have much more time, because it will open this summer, and the deadline is in October. And for consolidated grant, again, it will open in September, and the deadline is in January. So there is enough time for it's for 2025 in starting and consolidated. For synergies, you also see the date, and for proof of concept, that's the specific thing. I said there are always 2 closing dates each year. So this is all from me for the moment. And please, if you have questions, don't be afraid. Don't hesitate to ask me. Thank you very much for your attention. And please follow us on social media. Check the information on our website. Check the information on LinkedIn and YouTube, especially the videos. Thank you very much.
Yes, Jax, the floor is yours for the Q&A session. Please.
Thank you very much. Well, I think Dr. Shita, the presentation was excellent and exhaustive, yet also in a short time frame. So I think you've managed a very good balancing act. Some of the audience members have been sharing information with us via the chat, and I will also encourage everyone to really make full use of the Q&A box itself. So for our main ERC-EA speaker, you might be able to review some of the questions I've already written answers to in the Q&A box, if you can see that, and perhaps just narrate aloud and add anything else you'd like. And then from there, I'll invite you with me to go through the unanswered questions in the Q&A box. And we'll use all this time to remind the audience they can continue to submit questions. What I'll do, I'll just share some additional housekeeping remarks now that we're beginning the Q&A. The content of the chat, basically, I will clean it up and share a separate PDF document in our event page afterwards. So you'll get an automatic email from Zoom if you are watching this live. If you registered for the webinar, but you're not watching this now, perhaps you're watching the recording later in the future, 24 hours from now, you'll get an automatic email from Zoom that has a link to the event page. All you'll have to do is click that, and then this recording will be available then, so you can go through and watch it again. And we will also have a PDF copy of Diana's presentation. Thank you for agreeing to share that with the viewers today. And then I'll also upload a separate PDF document with all of the links and information that Daria and Diana and I are sharing in the chat for your own reference, including some upcoming webinars of ours and then some general information. So perhaps what I can do is just share some of my initial responses as a non-ERC expert or ERC staff member and ask Diana to elaborate. But someone asks, what is considered the official finishing date for the PhD? Is it the date of defense or the date of the award? And from my understanding, as of last year's call, this is now based on the date of defense. And this is because different countries have different cultures or ways of doing this. So this makes it more or less unified across all the different countries of the world. If you wish to elaborate, you can interrupt. But other than that, I'll just read through some additional questions.
Yes, it's the day of the defense of your thesis, not the award, because in some countries it can take another year before the award. So it's the defense day.
Okay, great. Someone asks if it's possible to find a list of the ERC principal investigators sorted by country and/or academic discipline or ERC panel. And what I mentioned is that the ERC will generally have press releases every time a call opens and then closes, and then when they announce the results. So in the case of an ERC call result being shared, the ERC will release statistics on how many projects were funded, what the panels were, and generally within each of those press releases, there will be a PDF document that's linked to that does, sorted by country, list the sorted by the country of the host institute, list all of the projects and the researchers. So basically, you might have to click around a few times, but you can go on the ERC homepage, look at the press release for any given call once a call is closed and the applicants have been selected, and then you can take that PDF and scroll and search by host to country. Of course, you could do your own work to convert that manually to Excel or automatically convert it to Excel and maybe sort, but I'm not sure if there's a separate area where someone can find this information. I personally have just used the press releases in the past.
Press releases, or there is this interactive map that I showed in one of my last slides. So then you can filter really if you were interested only in some disciplines or in some only in some countries. So that's also possible.
Okay. And then I know for you as an ERC staff member, and then for us as EURAXESS, so we promote ERC as part of our mandate as a European Union project, we are able to see some limited additional information for the ERC grantees who opt into sharing it. Of course, they have the right to decline. But sometimes if people were to come to us and say, hey, I'm from Canada, I'm really interested in hearing about Canadian success stories, are you able to connect us to someone or to secure them as a speaker in a future webinar? That's not necessarily public information unless their host institute might do a press release on their behalf or something like that. But in that case, you can contact Daria and I as EURAXESS North America and just express your interest. What country in Europe are you hoping to hear from with regards to host institute, or what nationality of applicant are you interested in hearing from, perhaps as a testimonial? And then from there, we can work with you to contact that person privately and then see if we can make that connection afterwards. So basically, I encourage you to look at Diana's presentation afterwards when we share the PDF version, because you can use that interactive map as well. So I'll continue down the questions. Someone asks if the country of Turkey is in the program. Yes, in the screenshot in my earlier EURAXESS presentation, I shared an image of the EURAXESS national portals. It's that basically you can use as a shortcut to know which countries can be ERC host institutions. So I did share a link to the EURAXESS Choose Your Country page, and from there you can find all those countries. As a reminder, it's the 27 EU member states, but then it's also the countries that pay into the budget to join the EU's Research Innovation Framework Program called Horizon Europe. New Zealand and Canada, both last year and then this year respectively, are joining Horizon Europe, but for Pillar 2 only. So in this case, the ERC is under Pillar 1. I know it's a lot of information to throw at you all at once, but for ERC grants and then another funding scheme, MSCA fellowships, you need to make sure that that country is in the fuller Horizon Europe program, not just the specific pillar only. So that link that anyone watching live can find in the Q&A section, the EURAXESS Choose Your Country link, that will be where you can find the countries where you could be hosted. So from here, I didn't feel that I could expertly answer without consulting with you the remaining questions. So I'm not sure if you'd like to go through and read the questions you prefer to answer first.
In the chat.
In the Q&A box, there should be a tab called Open, and these are questions that have not yet been answered.
Okay, okay. Yes. Yes, yeah, I forgot to mention that the complications with COVID, there are two like special events that can also help you with the eligibility window, and that's exactly COVID. You can mention this in your CV that yeah, you can always mention some specific life events that affected your research. So that would be the case of COVID, or also, for example, asking for an asylum, that's some war situations, etc.
I do want to go down some additional questions. Someone asks if you can share common reasons for rejections of starting grant applications. Sort of maybe this can also just be tips that you end up giving, additional tips for applications. But
look, of course, the situation depends on the discipline and on the CV, etc. But can you see the presentation?
yes.
Yeah. So I would say the typical reason is that the scope is either too narrow or too broad, so you remain unfocused. So don't try to explain everything in 1 5 years proposals, but again, don't go for a very niche area or very like limited question. But what is maybe even bigger problem is incremental research. I know it's super hard to say what's innovative, what's groundbreaking, what's new, and it's really very hard to come with something new, but it should not be incremental research. So it should not follow something you have been doing, or like just adding to what you have been doing already, or something that's really just adding layers to research already being done. And don't forget that this is not a collaborative project, so don't speak about several PIs. This really goes only to you, and you are the only person to show that you can lead the team and do the research, but no other PIs should be involved. And then what happens also quite often is that the work plan is not detailed enough. I know that it's very hard to explain details in 5 pages, but you have to say at least which kind of method you will use, how many people you will interview, which kind of methods you will use in your lab, etc. You don't have to precise the, I don't know, interviewing methods or something like that. You don't have to go to detail, but you have to say what will you do to reply to your hypothesis or to your questions, and how you will do it. So yeah, so try to balance like offering some information, but leave the details for the B2. And I was stressing the mitigation plans. So this is, I think, very important, like come with some analysis of risk, be aware that something can go wrong, be aware and tell the people, tell the evaluators what you will do if something goes wrong, that you have a plan B, that you can go to another country for a case study, that you can do another database in case your data are not available, that you can use another infrastructure or another machine or tools in case something goes wrong within the lab, etc. And also try to really distinguish between the part B1 and part B2. The B1 part is read by generally, it has to be clear, it has to be without some technical jargon, without technicalities, it has to be clear what you want to do, how you're going to do it, with whom you're going to do it, and what is the timeline. And in part B2, you can use the jargon, you can use all the technicalities, you can use all the details, because it will be read by the expert, and this is what they are interested in and they want to see it. And for the principal investigator, insufficient track record, of course, it's not about the number of publications, but you have to show that there is some work already behind you, of course, and that this work is important or specific. And insufficient potential for independent, this means that, for example, you have nice publications, but most of them are with your tutor, with your PhD, tutor. So I would suggest to have at least 1, 2 papers that you are where you are first author or the sole author. So or show some kind of independent that you have done some impressive work where you have been leading in a leading position. So that's I would say these are like the most often mentioned reasons for rejection, but it's really that the work plan is not detailed enough, so the evaluators don't know like how to evaluate if the proposal is feasible or not. To be clear what you are going to do in the 5 years, and if this amount of work you plan is feasible or not. So I would say this is like the most what happens the most often reason for rejection. And also I wanted to say that before addressing, just see what you have in the evaluation reports, because when there is just a diverting scientific opinion, this is not a motivation for regressing. If there is a mistake, if you see that there is like an obvious mistake, of course you can regress and you can ask for reevaluation. But if there is a different scientific opinion, this is not taken as a reason to regress. It's very hard to say what are the reasons for rejection, because they can be very variable, but these are, I would say, the most often mentioned.
I think as you've been sharing responses, I've been doing my best to look along some different documents, answer additional questions, and listen. So I think this is a nice segue to another question. Someone asks if it's possible to get access to others' proposals, basically to look at successful proposals and learn from them. And my understanding is that there's no EU approved or ERC hosted public database or anything like that, but also that the proposal is the applicant's property, so to say, and that an applicant can share. I don't know if you have any recommendations or thoughts, whether it's positive or negative in that regard.
Of course, there is a database of abstracts and database of reports and results that's public. And I forgot to say that all the publications have to be open access in ERC. So you can really have everything which is done by ERC grantee. It's easily accessible. But when it comes to proposal, this indeed is the PI is the owner. But I have very, very good experience that if you approach the PI and you say, look, I would like to apply in a very similar area, and I like your work, I would like to some help. Usually they don't say no, because for them, that's a prestigious that's a prestigious thing, and usually they are very, very helpful, especially in their time. So I would not be afraid to try this. Or use this opportunity to visit the team that or visit the PI that you admire or that you are interested in, and try to use this. But it has to be done on this way. We don't have any. We cannot share the proposals. This is confidential. This is destroyed after each evaluation round. So this has to be done on a personal basis. But I would encourage it.
Thank you. We're fortunate to have an American grantee in Italy about 4 years ago on a webinar who shared very similar remarks to you and said that every time someone contacts her, she happily shares it along. So her proposal, she doesn't host it publicly on any website or anything like that, but anytime someone emails her, she sends it. And I think there is a sort of pay it forward mentality that you can find among many grantees. So I think what we'll do is I'll do my best to get through all of the remaining questions. You've been very generous with your time, so I don't want to keep you much longer. If any people are in the audience and they don't have burning questions themselves, you're welcome to leave at any point. But for those who still have their questions pending, I want to do my best to get through that. I do want to read my response to someone's question regarding long-term illness. So I shared page 25 from the ERC work program. There's a link in the Q&A section. If you find that question, you should be able to click it and it will take you right to that page. But basically, the official wording is that for long-term illness, it's an extension by the documented amount of leave taken by the PI before the call deadline. So I don't know if you're aware of any cap on long-term illness or if it's just the documented amount of time.
On the medical documents, because there is I think there is 19 days for the care of a family member with illness. But if it's you who have been sick, then it depends on the type of illness you had. So it's really,
Okay.
if you have the document from the vaccine, then there's no cap.
Okay. So one of the questions in this from the asker was, does the ERC take into account all of the issues around one's leave, or is it simply the date that treatment started? So because I don't have an answer to that myself, of course, I invite you to share any additional thoughts, but ultimately we may connect this person, if they want to email us, to a European Research Council national contact point in the country of interest for them, who may be able to provide, shed additional light on this.
Basically, everything depends on the documents that you provide with your application. So everything has to be documented, and then it's up to each individual. Yeah. Only the maternity leaves are limited, parental leave, and
so I think I answered the question about how to get access to successful proposals. I will mark that as answered. And then someone asks, what are the criteria to be considered during the application of a non-European researcher? Is it your nationality or your current affiliation? And then I think I'll open before we go to just to say that other than not needing to get the visa, if you're an EU citizen or citizen of the country you're going to, that you're on a level playing field. So it's open to all nationalities. So there's no point system or anything like that where non-Europeans are at a disadvantage. But I leave it to you to put in your own words.
No, exactly as you say. That was one of my first. That was my first quote. That's really open to anybody from anywhere around the world. And it's only the condition is only that you will work in Europe, but you can be from anywhere. Yeah, and you don't even have to work in Europe all the time, but 50% of your time. So, yeah, doesn't matter anyway.
And do you have any thoughts or comments you can share on the administrative duties / reporting involved with managing an ERC grant?
Yeah, well, of course there is reporting. So there is a midterm report, a midterm scientific report that you have to send, and midterm financial report. But with the financial report, usually the university, the host institution helps you, because of course it's not up to you as a researcher to deal with all these questions. That's why you have to discuss about this and discuss about the support of your host institution. But yeah, in the midterm you have to send the scientific report with a short summary for publication, with a short report of how it's going, what are your results, and of course you encode the papers you publish, or the results you have, or the conferences where you present it, etc. But yeah, so that, but it's just one, and then the final report, of course.
All right. Well, I think the only questions I see that I haven't answered in detail or haven't been able to share with you are ones where we've invited the people asking to email us so that we can connect further and do some additional consultations. If anyone has a final last-minute question, I'm keeping an eye on the box. But other than that, perhaps I'll invite Daria to begin wrapping up, and Dr. Shifta to share any closing remarks as well. So thank you for letting me moderate, and I look forward to remaining connected with all of the potential applicants in the future.
Thank you very much. And as I said, if you need, don't hesitate to write me. There is my email, or you can have my email from Jackson, and just ask whatever you want. And I will try to find the answers for the property and the working days or calendar days, because that's a very good question. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Yana. I think this time we had really tough questions, huh? And a lot of questions. Sometimes we don't that many, right, Jackson? Yeah. Okay, so we concluded our session with the Q&A part. Thank you, Jackson, also for your support in this info session. Thank you, Yana, for being us today. It was, I mean, very valuable for us because you really updated the numbers. Because every time we have new dates, so you updated about the deadlines, and especially the last part was, I think, very important, like the tips part and common mistakes. And what I think is that people just see this ERC grants as very difficult to apply, and they have a kind of prejudice that, you know, only the very excellent researchers can get it. Because from the academia, I know these kind of rumors as well. So I really encourage, you know, researchers, scholars, you know, after 2 years old, 2 years of experience, they can, if they think that their research is really new and, you know, as you say, it has an impact, so they're welcome to apply and submit their proposals. So I want to wrap it up here, and thank you all again for joining us today. And as Jackson mentioned, our recording of this webinar will be accessible on our YouTube channel and also our website. And we will also send you a post-event email containing the video of today's video and links and all the presentation tomorrow, probably. So I kindly want to remind you to familiarize yourself before you did probably, but afterwards you can also check this ERC classes video playlist that also Yana mentioned. I think they're very useful. And we look forward to welcoming to our future webinars, which is the first one. I think it's going to be next week or 2 weeks later, Pillar 2 webinar that we are also going to share the link. This is also a great opportunity. Perhaps if you don't get the funding, but it's great for collaboration with the different researchers all over the world. So enjoy your day, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.